Hi guys, how are ya? How was your week? Every week since we started this, it's been a little bit crazy around here, hasn't it? This week we had a new president sworn in and a new vice president, and history was made. There's a woman vice president, and she is a woman of color, and she is an Asian American woman. How cool is that? We're very lucky. So we have this really big change that's going to happen, maybe not. Maybe it'll be about the same as it always is, but there might be some change for some people. And then last week we talked about getting the vaccine for the virus that's going around, and this week it's a little iffy because we don't know when the vaccine's going to become available again, right? So we kind of are in a pause. So that made me think. They talk about God's time versus our time. So every day I come to school and I pray. I told you, I pray. I got an hour, so I fill the hour. And I pray and I thank God for everything. I try to be so thankful because I am so blessed. And then I start to pray for my family and my friends and for the day and the preschool and all of that. And I find myself sometimes praying the same thing over and over again. And sometimes I get a little frustrated because I've been praying for things and it's not happening. So I'm like, what am I going to do? It's not happening. Does that mean God doesn't want it to happen? Does that mean that I'm asking for the wrong thing? Does that mean that God isn't there for me? He doesn't hear what I'm saying? So I started to think about God's time versus my time. So I found a couple things in the Bible that I thought I'd read to you. Because here's the thing. Every week we do this, right? Every week we talk about things and we bring the Bible into it. And we know why. Because God gave us the Bible for a tool. He gave it to us to help us so we can understand more. And so we are so lucky. I am so lucky because now I can go on the computer and Google or whatever and find where in the Bible it will help me to do this. It used to be you had to get like a special kind of a Bible and it didn't always have what you were looking for, but we're so lucky to be able to do this. So I went on Google and I Googled God's time and I found a couple of verses and I'm going to read them to you. They're real short and some we've already done before. So the first one I found was in 2 Peter and it's chapter 3 verse 8. And this is what it says. But do not forget this one thing, dear friends. To the Lord, one day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like one day. So that's not my time. My time is one day is one day. 1,000 years is 1,000 years. But God has a different way of counting. God has a different way of experiencing time. Ecclesiastes, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Ecclesiastes, this is Ecclesiastes and it's chapter 3 verse 1. There's a right time for everything. Everything on earth has its special season. There's a right time for everything. It's not my time. I don't know. It's the right time. Who gave us that right time? Yeah, God. God gave it to us. I did that one. Let's do this one. I did Peter twice. Yeah. And now one more, Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 25 through 26. The Lord is good to those who put their hope in him. He is good to those who look to him for help. Kind of needed to hear this, didn't I? It is good to wait quietly for the Lord to save. It is good to wait quietly for the Lord to save. God has his own time. It's not my time. You know what this means? I didn't understand what it meant, but I think this is what it means. God can hear what I'm saying to him. He knows what I'm asking him. He knows the question. He knows the people I'm talking about. He knows the answer. And it's not necessarily going to happen when I want it to happen. It's going to happen when the right time. When Colleen was a little girl, was a baby, I wanted to have another baby. Kenny and I wanted to have another child. And we kept trying to have another child, and we couldn't. It wasn't working. And we tried, and every month I would cry. And then my mom got hurt. My mom got hurt bad. And I had to go every day to the hospital, and then I had to go to the rehab, and then I had to go to her house, and I had to be there for her. And I could take Kyle because she was kind of old enough to go. But if I'd had an infant, I wouldn't have been able to do it. That's God's time. That's what it means. It means I wanted to have a baby when I wanted it. I wanted it right then. But God's like, that's not going to work. And I didn't know that. He said, that's not going to work because other things are going to happen. And then, once my mom was like in a place where she could be on her own a little bit, and I didn't have to be there all the time, then I got pregnant, and then I could have Kevin. I had Kevin in God's time, not my time. And I didn't understand it until I had him, until my mom got hurt, and I had to be there for her. If there's a job that you're looking for, and I have a friend that was looking for a job, and she would go to these interviews, and she'd go to the first interview, and the second interview, and the third interview, and she'd think she'd have it, and then she didn't. And then she'd have another school that would call, and she did the same thing, one after the other, and it didn't come through, and it's so frustrating and so scary. And then along about, the fourth or fifth school, she had the interview, and then she had another one, and they called her for the job. Now, this job that she got the job for was the best one out of all of them, but it wasn't available before. God's time. Not my time, not her time. God's time. Because God knows what's going to happen. Because God is kind of timeless. From what I can understand, from what I'm reading, God does not live on earth time. We live on earth time. Our time is dictated by the earth traveling around the sun, right? The seasons, the hours, the days, those are all dictated by where the earth is in relation to the sun, which is physical. It's all something we can kind of touch. But God's time is not like that, because God must know what's going to happen and remember what has happened, because he's not in that. He's with us all the time, no matter where we are, no matter who we are. God knows the right time. It's as simple as that. God knows what's supposed to happen when it should happen. We don't know. We make plans, because you kind of have to. You make plans, and then you got to know, if it's not coming through the way you want it to come through, it's going to. It's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. That's the part that's scary. That's the part that we don't understand all the time. And that's the part we have to remember. We don't know, but God knows. And so faith is trusting that God's going to do what you need at the time that it's supposed to happen. That's the tough part. That's the faith. The tough part's the faith. So, when you're praying, or when you're waiting, or when you're planning, just keep in the back of your head, this is not necessarily going to go in that direction. It might go in a different direction. I don't know what's going to happen. I know that there's times when I am so scared and so anxious because I want it to be what I want it to be. God is going to make it happen the way it's supposed to happen. Not what I want, what He knows is right, what He knows will work for me. God's going to do that. If something has happened in your life and you're scared or so sad or shocked, just keep in the back of your head, God's going to make this to be the right way to be. It's going to be okay. God's going to make it okay. It might not be Thursday. It might not be Saturday. It might not be 2021. Because God's not in 2021. God's always. He's always. And He knows the right thing. And He's trying to teach us patience, understanding, and love. He's trying to teach us, let's be patient, because it's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. I'll tell you, I didn't know what my life was going to be like when I was little. It was a little scary when I was little. My mom and dad didn't live together, and that scared me. I had brothers that I felt a little responsible for, but didn't always live up to the job. So I didn't know what the world was going to be like. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I loved children. I wanted to have kids. I wanted to have a family, but I didn't know. And now I have a family. I have a family at home. I have a family at church. I have a family at my job. I have children everywhere. I have children at church. I have children at work. I have my own children. I have my children in the neighborhood. I have the children that we've collected over the years. It's not just Kevin and Carl and Craig and Lisa and Emily. It's not just them. It's also Lauren and Jameer and Joshua. It's Laurel. It's all of this together. And God gave that to me in God's time, not my time. So we don't have to worry. We probably will still worry. I worry anyway, but we don't have to. And the world is not going to be unattainable, and it's not going to be bad. It's going to be what we can handle, because it's God's time. So keep that in your head. When you're worried, when you're scared, look up Ecclesiastes, God's time. Look it up in the Bible. Google it. Love Google. All right? So we don't have to worry. We're going to worry anyway. I just totally know that. But I don't have to worry all the time. It doesn't have to be a catastrophe, because God knows what He's doing. And I'm going to listen to Him as much as I possibly can. I want you to have a good week. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be God's, It's not going to be perfect, but you're going to get through it, and you're going to learn from it. You learn from your experiences, and God gives you those experiences. You learn from time, and God gives you time. You learn from your family and your friends and your teachers, and God gives them to you. God's in control. He's got this. So let God be in control and enjoy your life, and have a great week. I love you. I miss you a lot, but we are definitely going to be together soon. Have a great week. Love you.